Gaming is an art form. It takes a lot of effort to make a AAA game that you sit at home and enjoy on your console or PC. What if I told you some games like Uncharted 2, WWE 15, and even DC Universe Online had certain development that took place in India? Well, I have with me today Manvendra, that's right, right? Manvendra, who is from Lakshya Studios, who's going to talk about gaming and of course gaming in India. So let's start by talking about what is Lakshya Studios all about. Give us a complete run through of what you do here.
Lakshya primarily is into creating the visual side of the entire game development pipeline, which is whether it's 3D, 2D, animations, the whole thing. And we have focused on creating the best 3D art that you can get out there, and which is what Lakshya is now known for, the highest possible category quality of visual art.
So, to elaborate to the people who are watching this, what qualifies as art for the games? Is it just the concept arts that is drawn, or the concept art that is made into 3D, or it goes into the final render? Could you elaborate a little bit more?
Okay, if you just look at the how this whole sequence happens, whenever any art needs to be created for the game, first step is you visualize what you want, and that is where the initial part of the art comes in, which is visualization and illustrating what needs to be created. That is one of the most important components of this entire cycle, because that is where the artist works with the game designer to understand what is it that is required, what is the look and feel you want, what is the type of characters you are looking at, what is the style and colors and everything. Once he's understood that, then the artist actually draws out, whether by hand or on a computer, what this character is going to be, what this environment is going to be, what this object is going to be. And once all these things are drawn, which is primarily a 2D effort, then comes the task of converting it into 3D. For a 3D game. For a 2D game, the same thing goes on. But primarily, if you look at a 3D, then that is what the artist does. He creates the look and feel and the type of character, environment, everything. And then he creates some profiles of what will help the modeler to visualize this 2D in 3D. So a 3D modeler then takes that, converts it into using your regular tools, 3D tools, converts it into a 3D object. Character, environment, weapon, whatever the case might be. And once that happens, that also obviously has two stages. One, he models it first, which is creating the basic shape, then textures it. Texturing primarily would be giving it the look and feel and the color and the sensibility of it, of how it looks. And once all these things are done, then you actually put bones into that character. If it's a movable character, something you need to animate. And that is called rigging. And once you have rigged the character, now it's ready for animation. This typically is what the pipeline is.
Okay, so considering that you take on the role of animating stuff out here, where does it start with you? Do you get the concepts, or do you come up with the concepts and share it to the gaming studios?
See, one of the strengths that we have is that we have a very good artist, a very good illustration team, visualization team. So we get all types of projects. In some cases, we work with the client very, very closely, and they explain to us what their thought process is, what is the type of game they're looking at, what are the type of characters they want to create, and our artists work with them to actually recreate that in 2D. And once we have arrived at a conclusion, okay, this is what we want. So maybe if you say, I want a character which lives in the jungle, is very athletic, and is able to move fast, and things like that. So based on those parameters, they'll create different 4, 5, 6, 7 options. And then they'll work with the client to fine tune it further and finally arrive at, okay, this is what you want. Sometimes that's the level of detail we get into, where we start right from the beginning. And some other times, the client already has all that work done, sorted out. Right? They've done that, they just give us all the concepts. This is what you want done in 3D. It could be either way. We do both.
Now, before we started the conversation officially on camera, we were talking a little bit about motion capture and how you're the only studio in India that's actually working with motion capture on some AAA games. So can you elaborate on the kind of effort it goes in to work with motion capture, the kind of technology, or let's say people you need with certain skills, and how does that translate into the game?
See, motion capture, I think, is one of the most complicated objects to work with, simply because first of all, motion capture means that an artist has actually done those things, those activities, those motions, those moves. But that is not good enough, because gaming is a very technology-centric thing. Everything has to be run within a game's engine, because that's what drives the whole process of playing a game. Now, working with motion capture data is not just a creative thing. It is creative, yes, but it involves more than just creativity. It involves working with the data, involves knowing animation, involves technical knowledge about the game technologies, the game engine, and how to create this animation or use this data and create the animation so that it works within the constraints of this technology, which is the game engine.
Yeah.
So to do this, you need a mindset of an animator, skills of a technical artist, and understanding of the technology, which is a game engine.
Okay.
It is a very complex, group of things, string of things that you have to work with, and that's the reason why I think it is not easy when you're working with this data, because then you get something that, okay, this is a video of a move made by Hulk Hogan, and when motion capture was done, an actor would actually do those moves, but he's not Hulk Hogan. His moves will not be exactly what they're supposed to be. So we have this data done by a actor. We have Hulk Hogan, his video of doing exactly the same move. Now we have to first of all sort that data out so that it works in the game engine. Then actually put on the animator's hat and animate that and make it look exactly and identical to what Hulk Hogan is doing.
Okay.
So it's a complex things which need to be done simultaneously and parallelly. That's why it becomes pretty complex.
So what, according to you, would it take to be an artist? If someone was looking to be a part of this industry, how would one get a foot in the door, the kind of maybe technical know-how that someone would require? What would it take for someone who's interested in doing this to join the business?
I would say first of all, you need to have some inclination towards creativity.
Okay.
And you need to learn tools.
Okay.
That's the first starting point. And if you don't really need to be a fine arts student, but if you have, that's advantage.
Okay.
Because that actually allows you to do things better. But you can learn that, while you're working. But the most critical thing is you need to have an aptitude for creativity. That's the number one thing. Second, and again, that is where training comes in. You can learn the tools, but you need to know how to use the tools for creating art.
Yeah.
Normally, we just have tools. We just do a few things using tools, but you're not really creating art. That is where the challenge comes in, where that's what you need to learn. How to utilize the tools for production.
Yeah.
And if you want to be a game artist or a game animator, you need to understand basic principles of art. You need to understand basic principles of animation. So a background or a course in these areas would definitely help.
But this is something that actually I've heard quite a lot, is the reason India hasn't gone the whole 9 yards when it comes to the gaming business is because the kind of courses, the kind of education that happens here is not really up to pace with what's happening internationally. But you've spoken to me off camera about something called in-game that you guys have. Could you elaborate on the scene of the content that is taught to students when they want to learn something like this and what in-game is all about?
See, this is a very unfortunate thing that we have lots of courses which brag about teaching game art, animation and everything. But the actual content of those courses and what comes out of that is, leaves a lot to actually make any sense out of it. I've never been able to make a sense out of anything that happens in these courses. And that's a challenge that companies like ours face. And we have always been facing that, and we have always been trying to figure out how to get out of this, vicious circle of bad training, bad faculty, not very knowledgeable faculty, and then training somebody which is of no use to us. So we've been constantly, trying to deal with this situation.
Okay.
Initially, what happened was we said, okay, let's take people and try and see if we can train them. And that was a big effort, which really didn't achieve so much. So about 2.5 years back, we said, okay, we know what production needs. We know how to do that production. We know what should a student know for him to start working from day one. And we have a lot of people who are knowledgeable about these things. So why don't we do a course of our own, a commercial course? But then the objective was that we don't want this to be a profit center. because we are not in the business of education. We are in the business of creating great quality art for games.
Okay.
So we need to create talent, and that was another important thing. We said this industry in India has to grow, and the only way to grow is if there's enough talent which can allow and help it to grow. I think we took it as some sort of a challenge for ourselves, not just for our studio, but for the industry per se, that we need to create talent in the game space so that we can, and all of us in this space can grow. So we said, okay, if you're going to create talent, that is our objective now. So we started an institute called In-Game with a basic vision and philosophy that we are going to create good talent. We will create a curriculum for them which is relevant, which actually teaches them the production pipeline and not just the tools. Because you can learn tools in 1 week, but it will take you 6 months to learn the production pipeline and how to use the tools in production. Because technology is changing, the requirements are changing all the time, the tools are changing. So you need to be on top of all these things continuously. We said, okay, now if we start charging what a lot of these institutes charge, you're limiting yourself. Because that, and since our interest and the focus is not profit, we said we'll just figure out what it's going to cost us and we just charge that. And on top of that, if we find good people who are really talented and really want to do something in this space, we won't charge them. Because we are looking at creating talent and not profits. So we have in our courses, we have people who are great artists and they really want to do something but they can't afford it. So we say, fine, we'll cover that, don't worry about it.
Okay.
So that is how In-Game started 2.5 years back, and in fact we just finished our 4th batch couple of weeks back, and the next batch has started just now. And we have been taking all these guys and they've been they have been I would say on production from day one.
So you're saying that every student you've had in the past 2.5 years has been absorbed and they are working
because
with you
Lakshya has been growing phenomenally. We are we are more than 350 people now, and a lot of our growth has happened in the past 2.5 years. So we are in constant need of people. And what a better way to create people, create talent.
Actually train them.
Exactly.
That's actually absolutely brilliant. So if someone is actually looking for an opportunity to get in, and if art is a field that they're looking for,
come to In-Game.
Come to In-Game. Yeah. Okay. So another thing, let's talk about something from the gaming industry standpoint. You have a lot of events that happen internationally, which I'm pretty sure you attend.
Right.
And when you see the kind of technology that's happening over there, how do you see yourself with the competition? Of course, internationally there are other studios that can be outsourced to for art. So what do you do to keep pace with the changing technologies, and how do you manage getting some big AAA games as your clients?
See, first of all, what I would like to say is that technology has never been a challenge. I mean, the best of technology, the best of software, the best of everything is available to us. That doesn't stop us from competing with globally with players. What stops us is the right quality of talent as far as artists are concerned, animators are concerned. Yes, we have a really fantastic team of artists, leads, and and animators. But are they enough? That is where the problem starts. And obviously, you said that how have we managed to get these AAA titles and all that? There's one, you need to be able to deliver at a certain level of quality, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times, or mostly, you do that only by getting that experience, exposure over a period of time, over many years. Then you learn that. But you cannot spend 15 years just trying to learn and train yourself, and it's a unviable business proposition.
Yeah.
So we said, okay, let's create a shortcut to that. If you do not have those skills, let's get some people who have those skills, have been there, done that, and are on the top levels of quality and managing quality, and let them come and train our people. So right from the first year itself, first 1 year of our business, we started in September 2004. We consciously said we will not do any business. We will focus on training and we'll focus on honing our skills in the 3D space. So we've constantly been getting very senior and reputed and established art directors and senior art leads and all from the US who come and stay with the team, work with the team for a couple of months, train them, and make sure that their level of understanding of, see, there's one thing is, I am a great artist, but do I understand what is the level of quality I should achieve? If I know this, if my understanding of quality is this, I will achieve this. If my understanding of quality is this, I have the capability of reaching there. But if I don't know this, how will I do it? And that is the role that these senior guys have played. We have always had very good artists. We have always had very good raw skills. But showing them the vision of what is it that quality means, what does the quality translate to in terms of visual quality. That is the great role that all our good art directors who have helped us have really played that role in our life, and that's the reason why we could showcase our quality levels to our clients. And the first project we got a long time back, I think that's what established the level of quality that we could achieve, and then then it starts rolling after that. Then it becomes a word of mouth.
Once the ball is rolling,
then you keep picking up whatever comes in way.
Can you share a fun incident or something that just happened that stuck with you throughout the life or the young life of Lakshya or the development cycle of one game that you were a part of?
Oh, that's a googly.
But anything, something that stuck with you.
Okay. Now this is something which I don't know whether this is the right thing, because this is more of technology and something we created for our own project management, and less of that. I don't know whether
which is fine. It's fine.
So there was this very, from day one we have always been of the opinion that we are going to grow. Right? We started with just 6 people in a small residential basement, and we knew that we are going to be 300, 400, 500 sometime. And managing all this entire thing manually is going to be a nightmare. So what we need are tools which allow us to manage things, automate things, so that we take away the manual labor as much as possible from the management side. Creatively, you have to create things, you have to put in effort. But from the management side, take away the manual labor of that, because that is where the biggest errors happen. That's where the problems start. You missing files and wrong place names and things like that. So we started working on our own games management, production management tool. We called it SWOT. Right? So, and in today's date, our entire production is on SWOT. When people come into the office, to the studio, they don't log into Windows. They log into SWOT.
Okay.
And then once they log into SWOT, they get to know what project they are assigned to, what are tasks they have to do, and all the details about SWOT. So they work through that. And I remember this was an incident about maybe 5 years back. We had this big meeting with Disney, and we were discussing about outsourcing art and this and that. And they had very senior people from head of technology, head of design, head of production, from globally at least 4-5 countries. We had this big conference call we had. We started as usual the sales pitch. We said, okay, you know what, this is the great art we have, and this is the quality, this project, that, all those things we kept doing. And then we started talking about SWOT. And I think we would have spent about 15-20 minutes giving our sales pitch about art, quality, team, this and that and all that. Then we briefly, just as a passing thing, mentioned SWOT. He said, this is what SWOT is, this is objective, and this is what, we gave him a small demo of SWOT. And suddenly, there was silence, and I'm forgetting the name of the gentleman. He was head of the technology, game technology for Disney. He says, okay, we'll talk about outsourcing later. Can we just talk about SWOT and how we can work with it and license it and all that? And for the next 2 hours, we were talking only about SWOT. Because it allowed them, at least that's what they could see, to actually manage large teams, large production teams. So we were completely caught off guard. What? We don't want to talk about SWOT, we want to talk about services. We want to earn your business. They said, no, let's talk about SWOT.
Well, those were most of my questions. Is there anything that you think we missed out on that you would like to talk about?
See, one important thing which I have felt is that gaming in India, I've always been thinking, why is it that it's not, going the way it's supposed to? Everybody is looking at India as a consumer market. But the fact remains that nobody is looking at India as a product development place. Everybody wants to come and be in India from a sales perspective. But what is it that we can do to actually become a country which comes out with good products, good games? That is where we have to see ourselves. That is, and we have to figure out what are the challenges which are stopping us from doing that. I think that is a concern which we have had, because I've been associated with NASSCOM also. So we've been trying to figure out, exactly. So the one thing which we felt was that we have to encourage, figure out platforms to support all these new indies, independent developers which are coming up. Because in the past couple of years, I think more than 200 independent developers have come up and they want to get into these games.
And some of them based out of India have made good mobile games, some of
them have made very good games.
Yes.
And so this thing, we have to create a platform where we engage with these people more closely, provide whatever support they need to make their games bigger, better. Okay. Because it is not just 1, 2 or 3 games which success of which will define the what this country can do. But it is multiple games which will create a perception of that this is a country where you have lots and lots of good games coming out from. So it's a product-centric approach which we have to create. And if you look at US, you look at Japan, the 2 big gaming markets, they have taken a long time, 40, 50 years to come to where they are. And somehow I get scared, because if you look at the history, what was happening in US, let's say 40 years back, which was that a kid says, I want to play games, you get a whack on the head. You're wasting your time. Right? And it's only when that kid who was playing games grew up and started working, started buying his own games, and his kids said, I want games, he said, here, take 2.
Yeah.
That was a long cycle.
The cultural barrier.
That to break that cultural barrier, it took a long cycle. Yeah. A lot of times I keep wondering, I hope it won't be the same case here, because that's a very long cycle.
Yeah.
So we at NASSCOM, I think we are doing a lot of things to promote game development as a career, game development as a hobby, if nothing. At least that's how it should start.
Yeah.
We have so many different events, game jams. Right, we have had these game jams all across 6 cities in India, and you'll be surprised. In Chennai, there were more than 150 teams who participated, starting from class 5.
That young,
and they made some really good games. And when you see that, then you realize, okay, now the action has started. When a class 5 or class 6 or class 7 kid comes and says, I'm making this game and I'm using Python for it. Python is not an easy thing, a language to work with. It's something which is, you need a certain level of understanding and skills for that. Yeah. But these kids of class 6 and 7, they're working on Python, making their own game. So now I had this fear that, will we go through that cycle of 40 years before this cultural gap gets removed? But then when I look at this, I think we'll do much better than that.
So in the next 10 years, some of these kids
I am
the star
quite
game
sure about
developers
it.
in
I'm
India.
quite sure about it. Next 10 years is going to change the way the world looks at India as from a gaming perspective. Because these are the kids who will drive that. I was so happy to see and listen and hear about that. And that's a big change which is coming up, and I think a lot of global players have come to India and tried to establish their setup, their studios, have not been very successful because they've approached India in a very different way.
Yeah.
Right? They have not approached India from a perspective of creating a good gaming culture. They have just approached it from a perspective that, okay, how can I sell games to them?
Yeah.
If you want to sell, you have to create a culture first, and a lot of effort has to go towards that. Once I do that, then I guess we're ready for the next big thing.
Absolutely. Okay, so before we let you go, there are two very important questions. One is your favorite gaming franchise or a favorite game that you have, and your favorite gaming moment.
See, my favorite game, because I used to watch a lot of wrestling, and then we started playing SmackDown vs. Raw. I've been playing that since 2000, SmackDown vs. Raw 2010.
It's 5
11,
years.
12, 13, 14, 15 also. And I like other games and everything also, but the most exciting thing, and the reason why this has become my favorite, is because I have two boys.
Okay.
Right? And this game also is their favorite. And when the three of us are playing this, it is like war. It's like a wrestling match going on. And it's not about just managing the consoles, it's about managing each other, pushing them, jumping on them. No, you've done this, no, you've done that. So that is what makes it so exciting. I say, oh shit.
Yes.
This was exciting too. See, this is what it does.
Yeah.
When you're like playing with three people who are so excited about it, so into it, that excitement itself is something which is more than what the excitement the game really is bringing. So that's become my favorite thing.
All right. Okay, that was great. That was great. Thank you so much. It was real. It was a real.
Thank you very much.
So Mayank, tell us, what is it that you do here at Lakshya?
I head the animation and the rigging teams.
Okay.
And heading means like basically supervising the stuff and directing animations.
Directing animations.
Right.
Okay, so did you go through a particular course or a structure to come to working in the gaming business, or how did you come about to come here?
Yes, of course, I did go through a particular course, but the course doesn't teach you the actual on-ground things. You teach the first and the primary prerequisite is that you have to have that passion inside you. Only if you have that burning artistic desire inside you, you should get into this industry.
Okay, and for all of those that are watching this, what would your advice be to them if they wanted to join the gaming business?
All right. The first thing I would like to state is that don't just follow the trend. Right now, it's a booming trend, and people are just they're just wanting to enter into this industry. But many of those are not actually artistic, or they don't want to really become an artist. They just want to follow the trend. So please don't follow the trend. Only if you have that passion inside you, get into this industry. And it takes a lot of practice. You have to really work hard and get your hands right onto everything. Only then you would succeed here.
All right. So Sachin, tell us a little bit about what do you do here?
I'm basically a game artist.
Okay.
My profession is like we will be given some pattern concepts and all.
Okay.
So we are supposed to make characters. I'm actually a character artist, so I work on concepts given by the company. So we start working with the concept. 2D concept will be provided, and the client specifications will also be given, and we are supposed to evaluate it and slowly start in Maya, and then we'll go through that, and after that we base model in Maya, then we do slowly details in ZBrush, and that's the main process.
So essentially you make the characters come to life in a manner of speaking.
Yeah, actually.
And how did you manage to get a job in the gaming industry?
So I'm actually a BSc animation graduate. I studied from Picasso Animation College. So anyone who is having a decent anatomical knowledge or art talent can easily manage to get a job even if they are technically skilled. So I did a course there in BSc animation. Many other courses are like B animation courses, diploma animation courses, and do it from a good reputed college. So after the degree, even if you need to create a good show reel, a demo reel. Then once you are done with that, you can forward those demo reels to companies like this, and once they like it, they'll invite you for it.
Okay, so for someone sitting at home and watching this, what would your advice be to them if they wanted to join the gaming industry?
Soon after their higher secondary, they should really go and join an animation college, and they should be really confident about their talents, and their intention should be to stay there, and no matter whatever hustles come, they should really stay with good motivation and get motivated from the good artists, and see what all are happening in the game industry, even not just in India and from abroad, and get motivated and keep on working and go and join a good animation professional college, and after that get a good graduation, animation training, and after that come up with a good story,
Concept arts.
good concepts. 2D artists can come up with good concepts in 2D, and 3D artists can manipulate, use their concepts and create high-end game designs.
So what is that you're working behind you?
I'm basically working on a concept. This is a mutant, a hyena man, a creature with a human-like body and a face of a hyena.
Okay. Is that going to be in a game, or are you just making it for practice?
This is just a practice one.
Okay. Thank you so much.